All right, JP Football Fanatics fans, what's going on? It's your boy James here, back with you once again, like I promised you as of last night, that I'm here to do my Week 9 NFL picks for the 2023 NFL season. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think as far as your favorite team and what they're going to be able to do this week. If you think they're going to win, you think they're going to lose, how bad or how much do you think they're going to win by, and all that stuff right there. So if you please do me all the favor before I get started, please be sure to drop a like on this video if you have not done so already. Be sure to also hit the subscribe button as well to subscribe to the channel for more NFL content that I have provided here on JP Football Fanatics. And then leave a comment down below as far as tell me what you guys think of my podcast, my videos that I have posted here each and every week. What would you like me to improve on? What are some things that you would like me to do moving forward as far as the channel goes? Because your feedback and everything, I love hearing feedback from you guys, and it's really important for me to be able to hear as much feedback as possible so that way I can try to help this channel to grow, to be bigger and better than what it is already. So if you do all those things, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more NFL content, hit the comment button down below, help the channel grow to be bigger and better than what it is already. So that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in. Always means a lot every time that you guys tune in, because you guys are definitely listening in. You guys want me to cover all the different games that are going on, and you guys like the picks and everything. I really do appreciate that, and you guys are the ones that are consistently checking in on the channel each and every week. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. So without further ado, we're going to get ourselves started. Before we do, though, I would just want to show you last week's picks as far as how I did, and probably the best that I've done this season, one of the best so far at least. And for this week, I was able to go for last week of week 8. I went 11-5 overall for week 8, which is the best that I've done this season. Overall, 64-57. So it's been getting better. Definitely a lot better than it was the week before that. So that's great to hear. So hopefully this will be an upward in terms of my picks and how everything goes. So that's my week 8 picks. 11-5 overall, 64-57 overall for the season picks so far as we approach here to the midpoint of the season. So it's crazy to even think about that we're already at the midpoint of the season with a lot of different things that happened within the last couple of days. Now that we're at this midpoint of the season, we're really starting to see where teams are, and we're getting to really see like teams that are exposed or teams that still have a little bit more things to prove on before we can say that they're playoff worthy or Super Bowl worthy and things like that. So we'll find out at the second half of the season. So let's get ourselves started with the Thursday Night Football game, which will be tonight, and that is the Tennessee Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this game is interesting. This will be a low-scoring, ugly kind of game that I personally am going to stay away from in terms of betting this week. I just think it's going to be I think it's a game that's either way. This will go either way. Kevin Byard, who's no longer with the Titans, will not be there. So Will Levis is getting the start tonight against the Steelers. Ryan Tannehill is out with an ankle injury. So Will Levis is going to step in there. I think Will Levis will do fine personally. I think as of right now, based off of what we saw last week and what we may see tonight, I think he's probably going to be a long-term future of a quarterback for the Titans. I think he's the answer right now for what this team needs until proven otherwise. This will be a big test for him tonight. Last week they played against the Falcons defense, which is pretty good, but not up to Steelers standards. They're not as good as the Steelers defense are. So this will be a big test to see if Will Levis can play up with the top dogs of the defense, and this will be a big test for him tonight. So going up against Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So as far as I know, Kenny Pickett will be there. He will be the starting quarterback. We're not sure how much he's going to be limited. We don't know if they're going to try to pounce more on the running game in tonight's game. I don't know what exactly is going to be happening there in that aspect. So we'll see how that goes. Minkah Fitzpatrick is also out for this game. He's inactive tonight due to a hamstring injury. He's going to be out. So both teams are dealing with some injuries. So this will be a tough game. It'll be a low-scoring game. It will be a close game. I think it will be a very low-scoring, close game. I would like to see the Titans kind of come out on top. I liked the way that Will Levis played last week against the Falcons. I thought his game was phenomenal as his rookie debut. He launched that ball into the sky and to DeAndre Hopkins for 3 touchdowns, which was incredible to see what he was able to do as a pocket passer. As far as him throwing outside of the pocket, maybe that's a bit more of a question. That's more of a something that we are going to be try to figure out as the year progresses and everything, and see if that's something that he's going to be able to do, like what Ryan Tannehill has been able to do too, scramble outside of the pocket, or at least of what Malik Willis did last year when he played a couple of those games. But I think Will Levis, if he can play well, if he can play the way that he played against last week, probably wouldn't be too much of a shock to say that the Titans could win this game. And I would like for them to win this game, but the safer bet right now, because it's the home team, we know it's not easy to play there, and the terrible towels spinning all over the place, I am going with the Steelers to win the game. I'll take the Titans +3 because I think it will be a very close game, and I can see the Titans coming out on top, especially now knowing that the safety of Minka Fitzpatrick is going to be out. So that will open up some more. That'll open up some more throwing attempts and everything, and be more successful in the passing game. And I think they could also run the ball too. I think Derrick Henry will have a pretty good game tonight against the Steelers defense that's kind of been weak against the run this year. So, but I think the Steelers still win. I think they're going to find a way to win. That their defense is going to make at least 1 or 2 more plays than the Titans offense can. So, Steelers to win, but I'll take Tennessee at +3. And like I said, I'm going to avoid betting on this game tonight. I just don't think it's worth betting on this game, just for that reason. Because it's going to be an ugly game. I don't think it's going to be a game that's going to be worth really too much of worth money of the bet on this one. Next, you got the Miami Dolphins. They're going to Germany, actually. This game will be played in Germany. It's 9:30 in the morning. This game will be played. Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs are favored at 1.5 in this game. This is probably going to be the best team that Kansas City has faced so far this season, besides Detroit. And I can't remember if they played anybody else that was good or as good as the Chiefs are. I think the Dolphins on paper right now, offensively, I think they're better than the Chiefs. Tua has been playing at an elite level this year, given with what he's got. He's got the best wide receiver of the decade right now in Tyreek Hill, has a solid number 2 wide receiver of Jalen Waddle. They have some good running backs, a good offensive line, good tight ends to work with. Overall, the team offensively has been explosive this year, and they've been living up to expectations in that department. However, I think where they're going to really struggle the most is playing defense. I don't know how good their defense is going to be against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, because I feel like there are going to be some at times where Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to figure out how to slow down the Dolphins defense, and Jalen Ramsey at the corner, Xavier Howard. Maybe at those times they'll probably be able to play some coverage good. But I don't know if they're going to be able to blitz. I don't know if they're really going to plan on blitzing Patrick Mahomes. That's usually something that most teams typically don't do, because that's when Patrick Mahomes plays at his best. And I personally wouldn't say play in a blitz mode, but definitely play a lot of coverage and definitely be there at the right times of when sacks and pressures are needed. And they might be able to do it. I think Vic Fangio could probably coach up the defense to make sure that does happen. But I just don't know how strong enough they're going to be able to do with getting pressure on Mahomes, and especially stopping Travis Kelce from making like 100 yards, 150 yards of receiving. So it will be complicated in that department. But I do expect the Miami Dolphins offense to explode in this game. And I would definitely say that this is going to be a game that I think both teams are going to be near the 30s at least. I think this could be a very high scoring one of the games of the week at least. And I personally am going to go with the upset and go with the Dolphins to win. I think this is like a weird setup for the Dolphins right now. Normally, the Chiefs at home, if it was strictly the Chiefs at home at Arrowhead, I would say the Chiefs would win and they could pull out that win just barely. But because there's no real home field advantage, so to speak, the Dolphins take advantage of that. I think they can definitely do that. And I think at the same time, I think their offense is just going to make a couple of more plays. I think Tyreek is just definitely going to make the Chiefs regret of trading him away to the team that could be Super Bowl worthy if things all go in their favor. So the Dolphins are going to win. I'm going to say they're going to win. They're going to upset the Chiefs. They're going to find a way to really go ahead and definitely score. And Tyreek is going to make them pay. And this will be a good revenge game for Tyreek Hill. So I will take the Dolphins to win. And I would probably take them for the spread too, because it could be very close. It could be a 1 point game, could be a 2 point game, vice versa. Either or, it's going to be a really, really competitive game. So Dolphins to win. This will be a game that I would be really excited for watching at 9:30. That honestly, guys, honestly, this year this is the Dolphins and the Chiefs. That is definitely the best international game being played this year. Just saying that's going to be a fun game to watch. All right, here we go. We got the Los Angeles Rams at the Green Bay Packers. Both teams haven't been playing all that great. I think the Rams have been playing a little bit better than the Packers, especially Packers. Jordan Love, very inconsistent, very inaccurate, makes way too many mistakes, holds on to the ball for way too long. Offensive line not playing up to par. Receivers aren't playing very well. Defensively, they should be better, but they're still not playing very good with the defensive coordinator of Joe Barry. And I still don't understand why this guy still has a job in this league. And with the Packers, I think it's time for him to go. They just gave up Rasul Douglas. That's going to hurt them in some ways. To the Bills, they traded him away to the Bills, I believe he got traded to this week. So that will definitely hurt in some ways. But this Packers team is struggling this year. I just don't see how the Packers are going to come in and win this game. Like I understand like this is a home game. It's Lambeau Field. There's always like that rule of thumb where you never bet against Green Bay in Lambeau Field. You just never do that, especially when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback here. But it's the Jordan Love era. It's not going the way that we thought it was going to kind of go at the beginning of the season. It's just not. It's just not there. The hype of the Packers is just not where we thought it was going to be this year. The Rams, on the other side, have been playing a little bit better than I thought they would have this year. Last couple of games hasn't been exactly the prettiest, especially the way they just came off of that devastating and embarrassing loss to the Cowboys the way that they did. Matthew Stafford kind of banged up a little bit yet again. What a surprise there. So I'm not sure who's going to win this game. I feel like both teams are kind of banged up. They're kind of mediocre at this point. They're below average teams. Like, obviously the Rams probably have a couple of more players with Stafford, Kupp, Aaron Donald. That's pretty much it, really. Their receivers are good. They're good enough to get some wins in or help out the offense move down the ball a little bit. But I think without Matthew Stafford, I don't know how much more this team can win. So he's questionable for this week. He probably will play, but still very questionable. I probably would still go with the Rams, so I'm probably going to stick with the Rams and pick them to win the game. I don't know if I can trust the Packers this year. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I just don't like the way the Packers have been playing. I don't think Jordan Love is there. He's not in sync with the team. The team doesn't seem like they're really playing well for him. The receivers are banged up, not playing up to where they should be, especially Christian Watson. I have no idea what's going on with him in his second year. I think his injury is still kind of playing a pivotal part in his playing ability. And the defense is still figuring out some things. And Joe Barry, they still can't stop the run consistently. They still can't stop the pass consistently. So I can't see the Packers winning much more games than this year. So give me the Rams to win. Give me the Rams at +3. I think that's that's as good of a bet as you're going to get. But I would definitely avoid betting on this game this week, because it's going to be a crap show. Not a very good game at all this week. And then another game, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Houston Texans. So both of these teams are coming off of a loss. The Bucks are coming off of that loss against the who did they play? Forgot who they played, and I know they did play somebody, and they're just coming off of that loss to the Bills. They played against the Bills. I just remembered now. They played against the Bills. If they would have had a couple of more plays, if Tom Brady was still on the Bucks, they probably would have won that game against the Bills. but their offense is still kind of inconsistent. Baker Mayfield is up and down as per usual. He started out really strong, but now he's kind of playing up to where Baker Mayfield was the last couple of years, especially. Offensive line is still kind of shaky. Receivers of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still great. Obviously, they're still gonna make some plays and help out the passing game. Obviously, the defense is what this team is keeping them alive. Is the defense is definitely keeping them alive in that aspect. The Texans, they're coming off of a bad loss against the Panthers. 15-13 was a very ugly, low-scoring game. They just were very inexperienced. They were very immature in that game. A lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes in that game. But I think the Texans are still better than the Bucs. Personally, I think C.J. Stroud is still having a historical rookie quarterback year. Obviously, I still think he's still playing at that level of potentially being rookie of the year this year, or at least offensive rookie of the year. He's just been phenomenal this year. Well, while last week was not exactly his best game, I think this will probably be a pretty good bounce back. This will be a good chance for him to get back on top and win. So both of these defenses are pretty good. The Bucs defense is probably much better than the Texans. The Texans defense is still kind of questionable. They're still figuring out some things, but there's nonetheless they have some good secondary players that are gonna match up well. I think they'll be able to cover well with Evans and Godwin. They'll be able to do that. They'll be able to stop the run just fine because Tampa Bay is not very good with running the ball. The Texans also aren't very good with running the ball either. Dameon Pierce has not lived up to that expectation of being running back one this year, so maybe Singletary will probably be stepping up to the plate and maybe will get more involved and help out with the passing game too, which is where Pierce has not been able to do yet this year. So I'm going to take the Texans to win overall. I think they have the overall better coach. I don't think many people have really thought about it this year, but I think D'Amico Ryans, as a rookie head coach, has done a very good job with scrapping up the best team that he possibly could to get this team to get some wins this year. They've been doing a pretty good job overall. I think they're a good team that are going to win in some good situations. I think they're going to get better for the future, but they're just still a little bit immature. But this will be a game that they should be able to take advantage of at home against the Bucs. Give me the Texans. Give me the 3 points. This is a game that is going to showcase what Houston can do. And if they can beat a good defense in Tampa Bay, the Texans are a pretty dangerous team, and I would definitely watch out for them. All right, here we go. Next one we got is the Washington Commanders at the New England Patriots. So, long story short, the Commanders have no idea what's going on with them, but they gave up two of their best defensive linemen, two of their best defensive players for basically nothing this week. Chase Young to San Fran for a third-round pick, and Montez Sweat went to the Bears. Lost two of their best defensive players of the season. So this is where the season of the Commanders could probably go down the crapper now at this point. The Patriots are not any better. They're also dealing with a lot of injuries too, a lot of coaching problems. Things are just not gelling very well as we thought they were going to this year. Mac Jones, who I like Mac Jones and wanted him to be in a good situation this year, is not really working out for him very well. So, but I still think New England, I still think Bill Belichick is going to beat Ron Rivera and the Commanders. I know ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't trust Ron Rivera right now. I don't trust Sam Howell. I don't trust their defense anymore. So this could be a good Mac Jones game where he could take advantage of some things, knowing that two of the best defensive players for them are not there anymore. So they're not going to get a lot of pressure on that. So they'll be able to do that just fine. I think they'll move the ball well. They're tiny bit more consistent of running the ball than Washington is. So I like to see that. And overall, they have the better coach of Bill Belichick. And Ron Rivera has given up way too many games this year, especially against the Eagles twice. So give me the Patriots to win. Give me the Patriots to win, and give me the Patriots to cover the spread at 3 points. Next is the Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. Bears are not a very good team, although they got Montez Sweat for free practically. Not a big fan of either one of these teams this year. The Saints, I kind of had a little bit more of a higher, not a higher standard, but I had a little bit more of hope for the Saints this year and thinking that they would have done a little bit better this year, and they've just been disappointing overall this year, not been exactly the greatest, especially offensively. Derek Carr, there's something going on there with him. I love Derek Carr. I really still want to believe that he can still play in this league and everything, but man alive, he just has not been very good for the team this year. He's been way too inconsistent. And a lot of his problems has been more or less about the way of how they approach themselves in the red zone. Derek Carr has been the worst, and I absolutely mean it when I say this. They've been the absolute worst team this year when it came to throwing in the red zone. And that's something that Derek Carr has kind of struggled with since being in the league, since the last couple of years that he's been with the Raiders. So they struggle in the red zone. Derek Carr has also struggled in the red zone. But I think the Saints overall are better. Their defense is better. I think last week was more of a fluke for them. They didn't match up very well with the Colts run game. So I think this week is going to be more about being able to stop the Bears. And the Bears are just not a very good team overall. They got shellacked against the Los Angeles Chargers, and even though they came off of that big win the week before against the Raiders, they're still not a very good team. The Raiders are also struggling too. I just don't see this being the case. I don't see it really going anywhere. So I'm taking the Saints to win. I would also take the Saints to cover the spread too. Derek Carr could probably have a pretty good game in this game. Probably will be a little bit better. Probably will be a lot better of a game for this week than it was for him 2 weeks ago. Last week he played pretty good against the Colts, but this week the Saints should be able to win. They'll probably be a little bit better than they've been all season long. Next, the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons are favored in this game, 3.5. Keep this short, sweet, to the point. Kirk Cousins, no Kirk Cousins. Jaren Hall is going to get the start for this, the rookie for Minnesota. I don't really expect this game to be really that much, especially without Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is the reason why this team has really been winning a lot of those games the last couple of weeks for that huge win streak. Not so much with the offense. I don't think the offense has been significant, but I think they've been higher elevated because of Kirk Cousins' ability to play at a very high level, and that's what he's done all season long. So I think this kind of ruins the momentum now, and I'm going with Atlanta, and I'm going with Atlanta to cover the spread. Their starting quarterback is going to be Taylor Heinicke, which is a much better option for them to start Taylor Heinicke over Desmond Ridder, who's been awful this year. So I think this is Heinicke time. I think they're going to battle it out for the NFC South. I think they're going to fight for a wild card, or at least a wild card spot, maybe even a division title. I think they're probably the best and most consistent, talented team right now than any other team in the NFC South at this point in time. And I think they're going to win this game. So give me the Falcons to win. Give me the Falcons to cover the spread. Maybe the Vikings can surprise some people and make a couple of plays with Jaren Hall, but if he wasn't able to do much against the Packers last week, then I can't really see him winning this game. And that's where the Vikings season could start to tumble until Josh Dobbs comes in. And maybe he might be able to save them to go in for a wild card spot, but that could also be very wishful thinking too. All right, next you got the Arizona Cardinals at the Cleveland Browns, 8.5-point favorites for the Browns. The Cardinals without Josh Dobbs, the team's going with Clayton Tune. This is going to be a game that is going to go either way, I believe. I think the Browns are still better. Their defense is better. As far as I know, I believe P.J. Walker is still playing unless I hear otherwise about Deshaun Watson, who I believe has not played all that much better than P.J. Walker. At times, I personally believe that Walker has played better than Watson. That's just my opinion. And I think it wouldn't be the worst idea to continue playing with Walker at the helm. And at home game, Cleveland's usually pretty good at home. Arizona, they're still not a very good team, despite being very hands-on, very competitive week in and week out. And I think Jonathan Gannon is not getting enough credit for how competitive his teams have been this year. His team has been this year, at least. So that's a little bit disappointing. I wish and I hope that people would give him more credit. And until Kyler Murray comes in, I don't see this team really winning many other games. So this will be the week for the Browns to come in and win. So I think the Browns will take advantage of that. I think the Browns will cover the spread, and they're gonna play a pretty good game. So the Browns to win, the Browns to cover. The defense is going to light it up. All right, next the Seahawks at the Ravens. The Ravens are favored in this game by 5.5. This will be a very good game. The Seahawks are coming off of a big win last week against the Browns. At times, Geno Smith hasn't really looked exactly what he was last year. He was a lot more primed than he was this year. He's turned the ball over a lot this year. So that's kind of a big damper there. But they also played a tough defense of Cleveland, too, where I don't think Cleveland played their best defense in that game. But, they were good enough to kind of keep themselves in the game, and they just kind of gave up at that last second touchdown there with less than a minute left in the game. And then as for the Ravens, they dominated against the Cardinals, but they allowed them. Their defense is kind of what messed me up as far as fantasy football goes. I lost by less than a point because I had the Ravens defense playing against the Cardinals offense. And I lost by not even, it wasn't even a point. It was less than 1/10 of a point that I lost in that game. So that was very upsetting for me. I think the Ravens are playing their best football. I think Lamar Jackson, statistically, I think he's been playing the best football that we've seen him play in his entire career. And I think with Seattle's defense, I think this will be the biggest test for Lamar Jackson, especially defensively. This is probably one of the toughest defenses that Baltimore has faced this year and that Lamar has faced this year. So I think this will be that opportunity to see what Lamar can do. And I think Lamar at home is a great choice. If this game was in Seattle, I would pick Seattle to win. But I think at this point right now, Lamar Jackson, in the way that he's played this year, I'm taking the Ravens to win this game. I think they're going to win this game. And I think Seattle is going to keep it very competitive because they usually do week in and week out. This will be a good game for Geno Smith. I think the defense of the Ravens will give up, some garbage time touchdowns to make the game look a little bit closer. So I'll take the Seahawks at plus 5.5, but I'll take the Ravens to win the overall game in that one. And like I said, I think Lamar Jackson right now is probably the best quarterback in the league right now. I really think he's been playing at an MVP level all season long. He's just been phenomenal this year. I've been that guy that hasn't really been fully behind Lamar Jackson, but I think this year has been that year where if you put a team around him, if you put more offense around him, he's going to do a lot of dangerous things. And he's just been able to do just that. All right, next we got the Indianapolis Colts, who are 2.5-point favorites against the Carolina Panthers, who are the home team in this game. I personally don't know who's going to win this game. This is kind of like, the Tank Bowl in some ways. It will be a Frank Reich revenge game in some ways. I believe the Panthers are going to find a way and win the game. The Colts, kept themselves in the game last week against the Saints, but they haven't played necessarily all that great as of late. And I think the Panthers are kind of coming around now where, they're not going to win that many games this season, but they're going to start becoming more competitive. I think their team is going to start figuring out some things on offense and defense. I thought Bryce Young played a good game last week against the Texans, despite only putting 15 points up. But I think he's been playing some pretty good football the last couple of weeks, especially last week was probably one of his best football games this season. The Colts, on the other hand, without Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew can win you some games, but he also can lose you some games of where you should win. And this is one of those games that's like a trap game. The Carolina Panthers defense is pretty solid, and they're going to match up. This is a pretty good matchup for them to play against, the Colts offense. And I think they're going to do a pretty good job of being able to slow down the run, which is something that the Colts typically like to do normally, although they've asked Minshew to throw the ball a lot this year, and their passing game isn't the most consistent. They have receivers that are good. Josh Downs is a rookie and has been playing fine. Alec Pierce, up and down. Michael Pittman's still probably their number one receiver, but he's also getting older too, and it's not that much easier for him to carry a team in terms of the passing game anymore. So I think Carolina comes up with the upset, and I think they're going to find a way to win the game. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts won, though, too, because I think Shane Steichen has proven that he can coach in this league and he can be a head coach and scrap together the best team that he can. And if it was Anthony Richardson, I would say the Colts, most definitely. But as far as Gardner Minshew being the quarterback, he can win you some games, but this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be a trap game for him, and it's not going to be the most prettiest. So I'll take the Panthers to win. I'll take the Colts still at the spread of 2.5 because it's still a possibility that they could potentially win. I think the Colts can still win the game, but definitely don't be surprised if the Panthers came out on top, though, because I think that's definitely a possibility. All right, next, this is America's Game of the Week, most obviously, and that's the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 3 points here. This is a tough game, a really, really tough divisional game, NFC East game. The Cowboys and the Eagles both have winning records. The Cowboys are kind of picking up at the right time now. Defensively, they've been playing awesome, lights out defense. Offensively, picking it up a little bit now, which is great to see. Sorry guys, my computer kind of unplugged there. Don't know why that happened. But either way, sorry, the battery unplugged on my computer, so sorry about that. But this will be a very good game. This will be the game of the week, in my personal opinion. I think it's going to be a really good game this week. And I like the way that this game is looking like right now. I think defensively, the Cowboys, this will be the toughest defense that the Eagles have faced this year. So I'm also really looking forward to seeing that. I think the Cowboys offense will also match up well against the Eagles. So I feel like this game will be a very close, even game. Could be dead even at least. And I think it will be very low scoring, a lot more low scoring than what it was the last couple of games that they played against each other. So I think, really, because it's the home team, I'm going to still go with the Eagles, and I'm going to take the Eagles to win the overall game and to cover the spread. I think it's a game where they're still going to find a way to win. They're still going to beat teams in every which way. I think their defense will take advantage. I think they'll take advantage of a shaky offensive line of Dallas. Dak will probably throw an interception or two early, and the Cowboys will have to play, come from behind, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. So Eagles to win, Eagles to cover the spread at 3, but it will be a really, really good game. I think it probably will be game of the week this week, unless Miami and Kansas City comes out on top, or the other game that on Sunday Night Football of the Bills and Bengals. So those are like the 3 top games of this week. So, but I'm going to take the Eagles to win. I'll take the Eagles to cover the spread, and this will be a really fun game to watch. Next game, Tank Bowl of the season. New York Giants at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are favored in this game, 1.5 point favorites. The Raiders fired everybody this week. They fired McDaniels, they fired Ziegler, the GM, they fired the OC of Mick Lombardi, and Jimmy Garoppolo's benched. That's like the biggest news in Las Vegas right now. Aiden O'Connell getting the start this week, who I think is probably going to play well in this game personally. The Giants, who knows who's going to be at quarterback here. If Daniel Jones isn't ready to go or Tyrod Taylor's not ready to go, it's probably going to be DeVito again. And it's very hard for me to pick a team that went -9 passing yards last week. That's really embarrassing to me. I think that's extremely embarrassing that a team that had the Jets on the ropes the entire game didn't really pass the ball the entire second half, and they almost won a game. And they lost by 3 points. They still couldn't beat the Jets. That's embarrassing. So I can't really pick the Giants to win this game. I'm going with the Raiders to win. Not that I think the Raiders are going to play any better. I think it's going to be a very slow game, sluggish, kind of low scoring, because I don't think the Raiders' offense is been playing very good lately. But Aiden O'Connell could probably put a spark into the team. Maybe they'll start playing right now that Jimmy G is benched and McDaniels is gone. So maybe there could be a turnaround. But I could also see it going down south here very quickly. But Raiders will win. I'll take the Raiders to win. I'll take the Raiders to cover the spread. I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm a Giants fan, and I really want to see the Giants succeed this year. But it's really difficult for me to really pick the Giants to win, especially if they are just not playing good. They're playing doggy doo-doo right now. Doggy poop. Like, it's just, I don't want to get into it because I didn't take my heart attack medicine. Next game, we got the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. This personally is really my favorite game of the week because, one, I love Josh Allen. Two, I love Joe Burrow. And three, it's a very highly emotional game. We all know the reason. You all saw the thumbnail. It's an emotional game for one reason only. Damar Hamlin. Almost a year ago, we all know what happened to Damar Hamlin. It was very scary times. So this will be definitely giving the Bills a lot of goosebumps, and it will be very emotional for them, and they're going to want to play their hearts out. Now, some people think that the Bengals are going to blow out the Bills. Now, I don't personally think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a very highly contested game. I think they're going to have a lot of emotions. I think the Bengals are going to win. Personally, I'm going to give that out right now. The Bengals will win the game straight up. I think they'll cover the spread too. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be a very fun game to watch. It's going to be high scoring. Josh Allen is going to throw multiple touchdowns, rush in for a touchdown probably. Joe Burrow will also take advantage, throw multiple touchdowns to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. Might get the ground game going a little bit. I think their ground game is better than Buffalo's ground game is. I think overall, I think the Bengals defense is better than the Bills defense. When healthy, at least. I think the Bills defense is strong when healthy, but now that they lost two of their best defensive players for the year, they just picked up Rasul Douglas that could help out in the cornerback position. But I think the Bengals defense is just a little bit better, that I think they're going to make just a couple of more plays than Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. So, and I think it's just and I think overall it's also a bad matchup for the Bills because, obviously their passing attack, that's something that Cincinnati does really well, is definitely getting a pass rush in. And knowing that Buffalo's offensive line isn't great, they know that Allen's going to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs every single time. They know they're not going to run the ball, so it's going to make a lot more things more predictable and something to play around and be able to maneuver their defense around to adjust to what they're going to be doing, because the Bills don't have a consistent run game. They have good running backs like James Cook, and now they picked up Leonard Fournette. They have good running backs, but they're not utilizing them to the way that they should be. And when you're not running the ball consistently, teams figure that out, and that's why they beat you. And that's why the Bengals are going to win this game. So I will take the Bengals to win. I think they'll win the game. I think they're going to cover the spread, but it's going to be a really good game, though, overall. And for the reasons that I stated before. This game will probably be like I said, it's a very highly emotional game. So you'll probably hear about this game all weekend long, all over the news, just because of how emotional it was and how a Buffalo Bills player could have lost his life last year in Cincinnati. And then the final game, Monday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers at the New York Jets. The Jets were favored, I believe. No, the Chargers were favored. Please apologize for the mistake that I potentially made on the graphic. I was kind of rushing to make these, so if they're not right, I apologize. But I believe that the Chargers actually, now looking at it, are actually the favorites, and they are. They're favored by 3.5 points in this game. Take the Jets to I'm not going to take the Jets to win overall. I think I'm going to take the Chargers to win the game overall. But I'm going to take the Jets plus 3.5. The Jets a defense has been playing lights out all season long. They've been playing phenomenal this year, guys. And they've played well against elite quarterback play. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. They're 4-3 right now. maybe they shouldn't really exactly be 4-3, but their defense has bailed them out a lot, and that's probably is what is going to keep them in the game is their defense. And Brandon Staley will make some bad coaching calls, and that's how this game is going to go. Like I feel like the Chargers offense is going to have a struggling time with the Jets defense, especially in the pass, and that's going to really what is really going to keep the Jets in the game. So I'll take the Chargers to win straight up because I think they're an overall better offense, and I'll take the Jets to cover at 3.5. I think that is a good enough bet right there. I think it should be a very safe bet right there, and it will be a bet that you won't be disappointed in. But I think the Chargers overall are the better team. Not necessarily better coached. They're definitely not better coached than the Jets. I think Robert Saleh, you got to give him credit where credit is due. I think he's been pretty good this year, especially with calling defensive plays and containing Zach Wilson from making any mistakes. I think Nathaniel Hackett's also done a pretty good job this year, too, with calling offensive plays for Zach Wilson to not turn the ball over. But I think at the same time, though, I think the Chargers kind of make a couple of more plays on offense that's going to, solidify the deal for them. So Chargers to win, Jets to cover the spread at plus 3.5. With that being said, everybody, that is my weekly picks for Week 9 of the NFL season. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. It's your boy James saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Peace. Enjoy the Thursday Night Football.